In New York, D.C., and San Francisco, watching on YouTube, Bloomberg Business Week. We're going to continue. If you're listening on Bloomberg 1061 in Boston, Bay State Business is coming up next. Check out the new issue of Bloomberg Business Week magazine on newsstands, online, and on the Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Okay, guys, new position, open short position for euro. If you open position, stay with me and I will let you know what's going to happen next and when I'm going to place stop on profit. Okay, guys, stay with me. I'll speak to you later. Okay.
Headlines and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at Bloomberg Quick Take. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
World Headquarters. I'm Charlie Pellet. We move into the final hour of trading on this Thursday, April 8th. We're looking at records for the S&P 500 index. Stocks are at the best level of the day right now, with the S&P closing in on 4,100, up 16 right now. Again, a record up 0.4%. The S&P is at 4,096. The Dow up 41, higher by 0.1%, while NASDAQ is up 124 points, up 0.9%. NASDAQ 100 index also up by 0.9%. The Russell 2000 advancing 0.6%, a retreat for Dow Transports today, down by 0.2%. Stocks are climbing as Fed Chair Jay Powell says the central bank has the tools to curb any inflation pressures, which are expected to be temporary as the economy reopens. And yesterday, the Fed's March minutes struck a dovish tone for the path of monetary policy. Christina Hooper is Chief Global Market Strategist at Invesco Advisors.
What we're hearing from the Fed is a view that there is still a certain level of slack in the economy, and that, in fact, it expects to see an increase in inflation. That is not going to be a problem for the Fed because they're going to treat it as transitory.
And one other economic note, retail foot traffic was up 4.5% last week from the previous week and up 106% from a year earlier as Americans start inching back toward normal. This according to Bloomberg's analysis of mobile phone location data collected by Safegraph. Among some of the retailers, Walmart shares up 0.1%, Target down 0.6%, Macy's lower now by 0.6%, Kohl's stores lower by 0.7%. Recapping record right now on the S&P 500 index up 17 at 4,097, a gain of 0.4%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Bloomberg Quick Takes Tim Stenovic on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, you are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. We're going to tell you why it's good to be Matthew Congrove. This is a guy who lives in Austin. We'll tell you why it's kind of good, or maybe it's not so good because there's some things maybe possibly annoying him. It's a story in the new issue of Bloomberg Business Week magazine. It's about a city that's capturing the attention of a bunch of people. We're talking about Austin, Texas.
Hey, Miami gets all the love.
Yeah, well, we talked about it this week.
We did. Miami gets all the love, but as Lizette Chapman, a venture capital reporter for Bloomberg News, who joins us on the phone now from San Francisco, points out, it's actually Austin, where a lot of the people from California are moving to. Lizette, why are people in Austin worried about this influx of Californians? After all, as you write, hating on California is kind of a tradition in Texas.
Yeah, you're right. It has been a long and storied tradition there in Texas. And in reporting this story, I was eager to find out how things have changed during the pandemic. And so what I did was I reached out to the U.S. Postal Service, and I found that actually, based on their records, Austin has welcomed more residents from the Bay Area than any other region outside of Texas. And although, like you said earlier, a lot of people talk about Miami and, they talk about, Barry's boot camp and the great culture there and all that great stuff. Actually, a LinkedIn analysis found that actually 6 times as many tech workers went to Austin than went to Miami. And this isn't just like the rank and file workers. We're talking about major senior executives that have gone with the relocation of corporate campuses that we talked about on the show many times before, like Oracle relocating its corporate headquarters there, HP Enterprise relocating its headquarters there, not to mention the CEOs and some of their, major, senior execs from Splunk and Dropbox. And then, of course, we've got all these billionaire, venture investors like Jim Breyer, one of the first investors in Facebook, and then also Joe Lonsdale, the co-founder of Palantir and a major VC in his own right. So we got a lot happening in Austin right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me why Matthew Congrove, who is the subject of the story, or at least kicks off the beginning of your story, why it might be good to be him, but it also might be bad to be him.
Right. So Matthew is a software engineer who I met, and he moved to Austin about 6 years ago from Florida, and he bought a home there in eastern Austin, and the offers have just been coming in. In fact, he emailed me right before this story was about to publish with a Zillow estimate for his house, showing that his house price had actually gone up 20% over the weekend.
Oh my
since
God.
We had that last
Unbelievable.
And so it really is. So he gets about a half dozen all-cash offers every week at this point. It started, they come in by phone, text, in the mail, hanging on his doorknob, slipped under his door. And one time, probably the boldest one, a stranger just legit showed up to his door, knocked on it, and said, "I want to buy your house." So, and that's, that's kind of, it kind of makes sense, though, because housing has not kept pace. In researching this, I worked with the Austin Board of Realtors, and they said that a decade ago, a house would sit on the market about 7 months. Now it's about 2 weeks.
Was that person knocking on the door, did his name sound like Elon?
Hey, speaking...
No.
Well, speaking of Elon, I got to tell you, I've been to Austin once. It was back in 2016. It was in 2016. And I have always been interested in it because there's been this lore about it. I'm from California, and people love Austin. But even being there that long ago, traffic was heavy. People were complaining to me about how expensive it was to live there. And as you point out in your piece, a minimum wage worker hoping to afford a one-bedroom rental would now need to work 125 hours each week in order to do that. It's not sustainable. I mean, it sounds like Silicon. It sounds like San Francisco.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it right there, and that was a concern, that you obviously, noticed back when you visited in 2016. And I wrote about it back, I think, in 2018 after I went there for a South by Southwest festival, because it was such a palpable feel with the traffic and the rest. And there were concerns then that, hey, watch out, we could be, in our quest to become this tech hub, we could lose everything that's fabulous and quirky and culturally fabulous about this town, including the affordability. And it's just kind of intensified since then. I even spoke to the head of Silicon Valley's banking and technology practice for this, Dax Williamson, and he straight up said, look, if we price out the musicians, we're going to be in a very, very bad spot. And lo and behold, in investigating this, it looked like Tesla actually chose the Music Lab, which is a long time, musician recording and practice rehearsal space for its new Tesla showroom right there in southern Austin. So it's going to be quite a difficult balance.
Yeah, I mean, like the difficult time, right, or the difficult thing right now is if you've got a lot of big influential tech folks coming in, they can certainly drive policy potentially, and that's where you get the impact.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what some, newcomers, specifically Joe Lonsdale, who I mentioned, just a few minutes ago, he's looking to have more of an impact. He said, hey, guys, it's not tech that's causing these problems in Silicon Valley. And he's a Bay Area local, tech entrepreneur and born and raised here in San Leandro, and then, went to Stanford, and he just relocated with his wife and 3 young daughters to Austin, got a cowboy hat, boots, and a conceal and carry permit, right away.
Don't mess with Texas.
Don't mess with Texas. And his feeling was really strong. He articulated like this, saying, hey, guys, it's not tech that's causing this problem. It is really misguided California politics. And he really criticized the way that government works here in San Francisco, and he is hoping to have a much larger impact and be very intimately involved in the sculpting of policy there in Austin, as is, Michael Dell and also Elon Musk to some extent. But Joe's the one that's spoken really, really strongly about what needs to happen, and he doesn't want to see any on the streets. Yeah.
Lizette, we've got to run, but this story in the new issue of Bloomberg Business Week magazine, Lizette Chapman of Bloomberg News. Thanks so much. Let's get on over to World and National News. Here is Nancy Lyons.
Hey, Carol, President Biden is using executive orders to address what he calls the epidemic of gun violence that kills 100 Americans a week. He's asking the Senate to follow the House's lead and extend background checks to sales at gun shows and on the internet.
With parents and friends of mass murder victims in his invited audience, the president called for measures he said would not impact the Second Amendment.
Want to rein in the proliferation of so-called ghost guns, built from a kid. They have no serial numbers, so when they show up at a crime scene, they can't be traced. Anyone from a criminal to a terrorist can buy this kit.
These weapons under the executive order would be redefined as guns and be covered by existing gun regulations. The president also ordered a ban on modifying pistols to make them more lethal. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
George Floyd died of a lack of oxygen from being pinned face down on the pavement with his hands cuffed behind him. That's the belief of Dr. Martin Tobin, an expert on the respiratory system. He testified today in the trial of former officer Derek Chauvin. Tobin says Chauvin's knee on Floyd's neck resulted in extremely narrow breathing that damaged Floyd's brain, caused an abnormal heart rhythm, which in turn led to his heart stopping.
As you are narrowing and narrowing, the effort to breathe is going to become extraordinarily high and at some stage unsustainable. You're just not going to be able to do it.
Tobin took the stand as prosecutors tried to establish it was Chauvin's actions, not Floyd's drug use, that led to his death. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries.
All right, Nance, thank you so much. So listen, looking for a home in Manhattan, you can probably get a pretty decent discount. But if you want to go to Westchester, it's not going to be so easy.
Well, let's start with Westchester because the suburbs, guess what? Still so hot right now. New Yorkers may be getting ready to return to their Manhattan offices, but demand for Westchester suburbs still on fire. We got some data here. Completed sales of single and multifamily houses, co-ops, and condos totaled 2,489 in the first quarter. That's up 37% from a year earlier. That's according to the appraiser Miller Samuel. And the brokerage Douglas Elliman Real Estate said in a report that came out today.
Yeah, it's interesting. The president of Douglas Elliman, Scott Durkin, said a few months ago it was people who were leaving that were driving demand. In other words, leaving the city. Now it's people who want both. They want a city apartment and a home outside the city. It's tough to be these people.
It is. But, I got to say, it's tougher to be my friends who are looking to buy for their first homes in these areas.
Is it crazy?
It is
what they're
crazy.
finding?
Yeah, they're spending every weekend out there looking at homes, and they're getting outbid by people in cash above asking.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Listen, they say purchases of single-family homes in Westchester getting the most among all property types, surging 44% from a year earlier. I get it. First of all, if you were thinking about moving, you're just going to be like, after
Okay,
this,
guys,
definitely
I'm going
do
to
it.
play stop on
But
profit
we'll see what happens. Like, I
for
don't know,
euro
after
at
the pandemic,
119,
we'll see whether or not
145.
I think once you have kids,
Okay,
though,
so
once
if
you
you
get set
followed
up for
my
schools, it's
trade,
hard to
if you
come back.
decided to follow,
You want those schools?
Yeah.
Makes
what's your
sense.
choice,
Meantime,
right?
in Manhattan,
So you
Yeah,
need to
renters
play
speaking
stop
of
on
the
profit,
units
and
in
whatever
discount
happened,
homes, even
you
Manhattan's
will not
longest linear
lose
apartment units are
even
finding
a
takers
penny.
amid landlord
If you would
fees.
like to
That's
find
happening.
out
Surging
why
so
we
here from Miller Samuel.
purchased
Apartment contracts jumped
euro at this
89%,
specific price,
in March
what's
from a year
happened,
earlier,
what is
to
going
close to
on, you
5,000.
need to
That's according
get
to Miller
the
Samuel
strategy.
and Doug Elliman
The
Real
strategy
yeah, it was the
available
biggest
on our
research
website,
poll done in over a decade of
companyeye.co.uk,
record-keeping. But
or
what's
you can get it
interesting is,
from
landlords are
our
offering record incentives.
YouTube
Units
streamer,
found takers last month
and
at average
you can
discounts of
find out
6.8%
all
off the original
information
list price.
from
So we're seeing some deep
the
discounting
strategy,
when it comes to Manhattan. You're
and
listening
you
to Bloomberg
can
Business
trade
Week.
other
It's Bloomberg
pairs
Radio.
or stocks if you want to, because on the screen you can see I can show you just a few trades. We have many. We trade basically most of major pairs, so we just can't show you all of these. So if you would like to trade other pairs, or if you would like to trade properly like professional trader, please do get strategy, and you will discover all the secrets, all the information, all the signals we use. Okay, stay safe.
markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at Bloomberg Quick Take. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
World headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ at or near session highs. S&P trading at a record. Let's head right over to the first word breaking news desk for today's afternoon call. Here he is, Bill Maloney.
And Charlie, that's right. U.S. stocks in the green today with the Dow currently up 48 points. S&P's gained 17, and NASDAQ outperforming up 129. The U.S. 10 yield at 1.63%. Gold is up 17, and transports fall 26 points. Among the main 11 S&P sectors, tech and consumer discretionary led. Energy was under pressure, and leaders to the upside in the Dow, Apple and Salesforce, while Nike and Walgreens led to the downside. In other news, Ford to idle 3 more factories due to the chip shortage. Netflix spiked intraday after announcing a Sony Pictures deal, and Visa's incentives to banks are examined in a Justice Department probe. After earnings, Constellation Brands fell as much as 6%. And wrapping things up, Levi Strauss and WD-40 report after the bell. Live from the first breaking news desk, I'm Bill Maloney. Charlie?
Okay, we thank you very much, Bill, and to hear live breaking news over your Bloomberg type squawk. Yes.
Well, traders, okay. Position closed at 119.145. In our case, we have 200 pounds in profit. In your case, 2 pips is all about how much broker pays you per pip. Okay, it might be 30 pounds, 50 pounds. It's all about, it's all written in the strategy. If you will get the strategy, you will find out how to calculate your profit. You probably received already from your broker confirmation and your profit. Okay, good trade. Well done. Nice one.
Everybody gets something in return.
These were all the rage in my 20s, the early 2010s.
Yeah,
really, I mean, this is what people were wearing, and the buy one give one model was really innovative at the time.
Yeah, well, it's now reaching for a comeback, the company. Let's get the story from Jordan Holman. She's Bloomberg News retail reporter, and she joins us on the phone in Atlanta. Jordan, I mean, it's so true. For a while, you know, a few years back, everybody knew about Tom's. Everybody bought Tom's.